Good afternoon, dear participants of the forum. Today we're discussing not very conventional issue for the economic forum. It's about happiness and how the national projects impact the higher index of happiness. I'm very pleased to introduce colleagues of mine, which are going to discuss this issue today. This is the governor of Kaluga region, Vladislav Shapsha. Soon we're going to have Director General of TUM Trading Mall, Mr. Fedorov, well-being and the happiness of person. What are the effects we expecting from the national program? We're going to discuss that today. All the national projects aim at better life around us, better life in every particular household, family, region, and the country in general. First of all, I'd like to play the video. Today we're entering a new decade. Everybody remembers that we are celebrating Old Style New Year. Please switch on the video. Dear Father Frost, Platon is writing to you, I'm 8 years old. 8 years old. I behaved well. You know, I know it better. I'd like to become a hockey championship winner. That's great. All right. I'm going to figure skating shoes for you. Open skating rink. This is the national project called Demography. And the sport is a norm of life program. So you'll become the International Hockey Championship winner. Together, it's easier to raise a champion. It's a video clip for the new year to explain what the national project is, and Father Frost usually presents happiness. So this is the closed skating rink as a part of this program. The first question to you, Vladislav, how do you assess? Is it possible to integrate happiness index within the governance assessment program? I'd like to get back to this video clip. I'd like to remind you that we had a New Year quite 2 weeks ago, and Kaluga was the capital, New Year capital of Russia. And it's difficult to imagine happiness in our country without celebrating New Year. Even regardless of the pandemic situation, difficulties which we see around us, we cannot give up this holiday. We undertook this responsibility and we held the celebration starting December 12th for a month, and a lot of people from Kaluga and from other regions went to Kaluga, and how happy their smiles were. Unfortunately, their masks, but we could see their eyes, and we could understand whether the person liked it or not, whether he was satisfied or not. In this respect, I can say a very subjective indicator of happiness is in place, and we do know when we are happy. As for the more objective assessment, qualitative and quantitative assessment, national projects which we're talking about are those opportunities, new opportunities in creating infrastructure required, which is essential for human life and higher satisfaction with this life. Look at that. So the question of healthcare is top priority one. We see how difficult the pandemic situation is, and we see what difficulties it faces. We need a very fine-tuned healthcare system, and our national project allows us to build hospitals, to build inpatient ambulance units, and this year we have built 50 units like that. 8 were sponsored by the regions, and 42 were sponsored by the federal zero budget. So did you assess their satisfaction with that? It's quite easy. It's enough to go to a region where this special unit was built, where these doctors work, these physicians work. You don't need to look at any assessment. You need just to look at people when they thank you for what has been done. When these units emerge, the attitude of people to the authorities and to life is different. So everybody, actually not everyone has access to the vaccine. I'm not talking about the coronavirus vaccine, I'm talking about flu vaccine. These national projects allow us to do that. This is one of the examples. There is another one connected with the demographic educational projects where we're building schools, kindergartens. If we want people to work and to earn money, we have to give them the opportunity to take their child to kindergarten, for the parents to leave their child in the kindergarten. Talking about the secondary education and the higher school, this is the quality, this is the presence of infrastructure, and actually influences the desire of people to live in a particular region. If you do have this opportunity to take your child and to provide for a high-quality education, you can say that the person to a particular extent is happy. When we're building schools, we have built 2 of them this year, 2021. We're going to have at least 4 schools in Kaluga region. This is what people have been asking for a long time. We didn't have this opportunity before, but today we do have it. It's one kind of aggregated indicator of happiness. It is in place. It is in our mindset. Maybe it's possible to adopt this as a project indicator. We do have this global experience in different countries. It boils down to the attempt to quantify that. But there is no single country as a happiness indicator which equals to a particular figure. There are ministries, there are ministers of happiness. Many companies have those special departments, but it is kind of a response. We do attend our job. You can attend your job in order to earn money, but you can also attend your job to get satisfaction. Talking about young people, money is a very important component of our life. It is not as a top priority. Of course, when you have a minimum level living standard, your job should be interesting. And this is the responsibility of the regional and municipal authorities to create jobs interesting for the young people. I couldn't actually quantify that indicator. Let's ask this question to the sociology, how the happiness is assessed by this science, whether it is possible to have a sociological indicator. We are going to ask this question to Director General of TSUM, Valery Fedorov. He's going to join us in our session. What does sociology think about happiness? Can we see the indicator as the assessment of activity? Sociologists thinks about happiness as we all do. We should recognize that happiness is different to all. It is a very sophisticated equivalent, comprehensive equivalent. Everybody understands something by saying that we can tag happiness to social, demographic, age characteristics. Of course, if a person has a family, he's more happy. If the person has children, there is a new parameter, a new criterion, how healthy they are, how prosperous they are, what is happening to their education, what prospects they have. If a person is a different age, so the requirements vary. If the children are teenagers or even adults, so there is health at the forefront. Prosperity is a very important equivalent. We're living in a rich country, but we're quite poor people. We want to become rich. But of course, the income is not at the top priority, but at least among the criteria of happiness. I'm not trying to say that we want to become rich. We want to achieve particular living standard, particular threshold. Of course, not this desire to become a millionaire or billionaire like we saw in the 90s. The situation has changed, and people realize that it is a particular life pace. For someone, happiness is a challenge. This is the opportunity to demonstrate the talent, to demonstrate the activity, is to achieve something, is to change something in a person's life, in the lives of other people. We don't see many people like that, but they do play a huge role in social life. And the level of their happiness determines their productivity, and that determines the quality of life. I'm not talking about entrepreneurs only, I'm talking about the inventors, about engineers, scientists, great and prominent scientists, sometimes about the politicians and statespeople. Talking about happiness, we need to understand that there are components very important for everyone, but there is a huge differentiation depending on many factors, including mindsets of people. There are calm people, there are active people, there are proactive people, there are some people who need to feel this very favorable environment. That's why they achieve great. And there are some people who give the best results under very difficult circumstances. I'd like to reiterate that sociology is a science, and science likes to consider, to research, to invent, to find new layers and aspects, to check and to question some common wisdoms. But in this respect, we're not talking about the science, but we're talking about the real life, about the governance. From this perspective, we have managed to learn to see the level of happiness in statistically and dynamically, and to decompose on different sociological groups, pensioners, students, workers of state-owned companies, and economic active population, elderly people, and so on and so forth. We do see quite good models for the state governments. They can be used, but they should be tied to a particular region. Look at the biggest country. We have a huge diversity of regions, regional circumstances. We can assume that happiness in Tuva is going to be different from the happiness in Tuva, in Kaluga, and these peculiarities should be looked into. I believe even within the particular region, the happiness can be different. If a city dweller has his own criteria for happiness in a rural area, the happiness might be different. If you have access to natural gas pipeline, the happiness can be different, and it can be already in place. Let's get back to real life. You've mentioned about the quantitative assessment. Do you stipulate that in your program as the level of satisfaction of a person with life? Do you see it in the national projects for the regions? And do you consider the opinion of your citizens shaping particular initiative? You're right to say the satisfaction with the life standard. You know, today person can be happy, tomorrow it can be unhappy, but it is just very one-time feeling. But the satisfaction can be assessed. It is the backbone of our strategy to develop Kaluga region till 2030. And those national projects which we are implementing are aimed at higher satisfaction with the living standard among our citizens.
Именно на основе этих четких
Based on these clear criteria and indicators,
вот то, что мы говорили о создании
we have developed a program. The development of infrastructure is a way to achieve those
их много
goals.
достаточно, базовые потребности, они были
The basic requirements were identified: health, education, prosperity, well-being.
и все они достаточно детально, на самом деле, прописаны.
They were stipulated in detail.
Хочу сказать, что
But I'd like to mention once
для
again,
разных, поддержать Валерия, да, для разных слоев,
for different
для разных категорий людей,
people, for different categories of people, these
мы
is a little bit different.
вот сильно
We cannot differentiate that from the perspective of the authorities. To some people, one thing is enough. For other people, different thing is enough. But we're trying to work for all the citizens. We're trying to meet the major needs and wishes of all the citizens, of all the people. And I believe it's the right way. Talking about the rating for national projects, what national projects provide for the well-being of the people? What is your perspective? What do people in Kaluga think? I'm not going to even differentiate. I cannot say that the hospital can be better for satisfaction rather than the road. And, for example, a number of schools and kindergartens contribute to satisfaction more than other things. It is not the right thing to say. National projects were to solve different problems in different spheres of our life. We have a lot of them. We live in a very difficult, sophisticated world, and it is very important for this project to develop in harmonized way, not to overlap each other, not to controverse each other, in order to get a great, broader picture of our life in general. We shouldn't prioritize these projects. They should work in combination, and this is a big advantage of them. I'd like to give a couple of slides and to draw attention to these slides. We've analyzed the experience of other countries, how they assess the level of happiness, and we asked our people what happiness means to them. We have two pictures from northern countries, Sweden and Finland, very close to us in temperature. In Sweden, they have a very well determined principle of happiness, which is called lagom. This is the modest approach to everything. Life in lagom style is simple life without extra things which you don't need. So every sphere of life is underlined by this lagom concept. So they actually lobby and promote this way of life, and it is lobbied by our well-known IKEA brand name. This is the relationship, interaction, interior, the design, our clothes. In Finland, there is another concept of happiness, which is called kalsirikanin. Who is kalsirikanin? The state of happiness is in drinking alcohol in underwear without any intention to leave your house. You know, this is the word which has the above-mentioned context, but what the Finnish people say, this is the talent to be relaxed, to enjoy the moment, to seize the moment and to feel happy, being surrounded by those right people. But this casual clothes style should be in place. That's what they think about happiness. They conducted a special course, the course of Finnish happiness, Rent a Finn. This is the English name for this course. This is the course which is going to teach you how to live in a Finnish way. They explained how to get happiness from nature, from interaction, and they teach how to become happy in a Finnish way. But we might even go with the brand abroad. What type of happiness can we demonstrate to each other and demonstrate this happiness abroad? What do you believe is necessary in human life? So this is the percentage breakdown the sense of life, the meaning of life. The second is given to person to talk to, and the third place is 22% is justice. Another question: so which action give you satisfaction? And this is the percentage breakdown. This was the poll, open poll. The most popular answers are on the screens. Just to go to another city spontaneously, to sit in your kitchen with your friends and relatives, to live in the country house, to travel somewhere in a train, to just go mushroom collecting, and to do something with your own hands.
Therefore, you can see here that what is present are our friends and communication and trips, and also making something, right? So that implies being able to do that. It's hard to correlate the moments when we feel happy with the sense of life and talk and justice. In my mind, at least, it is hard to unite that all. Then, Vladislav, a question to you. What is lacking in this list from your perspective, and what gives happiness to you? I would like to say that I believe that our national particularity is readiness to survive in any conditions, to go forward and to fight, because we are always fighting for something. That is how we are created by nature. We are always fighting for future, for happiness. We are advancing all the time. Maybe there is some advantage in it, but how can it be combined with the confidence of the Swedes and the Finnish underwear? I don't know. That might be hard, but we are Russians after all. And anyway, do you think a person can be truly happy if they are jobless or friendless or do not have anyone to talk to or do not have a sense of life? I doubt that if they are not too far away from ordinary life. So yes, the answers are correct. We would hardly say that we are happy if we work 24/7 without seeing our close and near and dear, and all our thoughts are about how to make money. Naturally, we are happy when we have a chance to go by train on a holiday, to go mushroom picking, and we have a sense, a goal in our life, because our goal in life is not to work all the time. We need to have a rest. So I believe that we do it all correctly, and we create these opportunities to people when we give them jobs and opportunities to spend their time in an interesting way. As for what we are lacking, well, we are always lacking in something. Sometimes that is confidence, self-confidence, confidence that we would be able to do that. Sometimes we are lacking in some resources. But if we start doing something all together, then we make it. But as soon as we start wondering who is more correct, who knows better where happiness is, nothing comes out of it. The world today is maximally open. Social media give an open window to everyone, and everyone can give their information there, and it becomes public instantaneously. And in these conditions, to try to make someone be happy, I believe, is senseless. But to give people a picture of the world of opportunities and to give people a chance to be happy in their own way, I believe can have good results. Yes, we have discussed with you that the most important thing is to come up with infrastructure and opportunities and conditions. Good. Valery, I have a question to you. I know that Tsiom had a study on happiness. Do you think these studies should be carried out regularly, and what your latest one has shown? Well, if we stop carrying out these studies, then the question will turn up why. What are they hiding? What are they concealing? You know, it's like a Pandora box. When you get the results, show them, make them public, you have to repeat it afterwards, because if we do not do that, somebody else will. And the topic of happiness is something that we started looking at back in 1991, not the happiest year in this country. And what is the dynamics? Back then, we were really aggravating, and it was the hardest period in our life. But starting with the 2000s, the level is going up, and I will agree with the governor in terms of the idea of happiness as a fight. Crisis, economy, oil, geopolitics, the pandemic today, and uncertainty. We are always fighting. We receive these blows all the time. Not only we, of course, but still we are talking about Russia now. But still, the level of happiness is high. It is a little bit lower than, for example, in 2014, because we remember all that euphoria back then, the reunion of Crimea and the feeling of strength. Now we are not that high, but still the level of happiness is good. And we are criticized for that. They say, "You are fooling us. What happiness are you talking about?" It is crisis and full uncertainty, total uncertainty. But our level of happiness is pretty high. And we have looked into this matter, and it turned out, and you know, happiness has a lot of components, but I will not make it difficult now. I will simplify it. Happiness is an emotional state. You cannot be happy all the time. The Danes can be, you know, they have their recipe of happiness that is hinky. Well, these countries, the Nordic countries, by the way, have a separate word to define happiness. Well, we do not have a separate word for that, but our people believe that you cannot be happy all the time. Only a fool or a blessed can be happy all the time. But there are some basic components without which you will definitely not be happy. That is family, then a confident circle of communication, like you have put it down, and to go somewhere by train. Yes, that is also true, because you can go by train alone, but there is such a notion as train arguments. So that implies communication all the time. But that is communication not about some hard problems, some working issues or anything else, but some light communication. We are social beings. We are willing to communicate. We cannot always do that. We're not always able to do that, but still we would like to that. And after our reload of the 1990s, that was really very hard, well, fair, right, is a hard topic. And as for justice, well, people are talking about something that they are lacking in, right? A lot of people believe that our society is unjust, and they see the roots of that in the traumatic years of the 1990s. Therefore, the element, or an element rather, of the total understanding that everything is just and fair play, some people call it a harmonious society, or good society, that is also critical. That is a basic thing. And another basic thing is naturally children. Children have a direct connection with the family. Without children, there is no happiness, and the most important thing is for them to be good and happy. And the last element is health. That is it. All the rest is not about happiness already, but about well-being and welfare. And I believe that if the indicator of happiness is interesting, but is not applicable for direct governance decisions, but the indicator of well-being that is clearly measured by 8, 10 directions is a good thing that can and should be be monitored and that KPIs can be structured upon and that you can use to trace the senses of people. For example, there are more chances to find a job, not any job, but a well-paid job, or not. That is not about happiness, but it is about well-being. As there become more opportunities to get a good education at a reasonable price or for free, then again, it shows something. If everything is going in the correct direction, then you need to support it. It's again not happiness, but well-being. I would like to say that to managerial decisions, you should use that. I would like to add something. If in the Kaluga region, unemployment was at the level of 2.4% in the peak of the pandemic, and now it is 1.3%, that is an objective criterion. And if we are building a Bauman University campus for several thousands of students, that is also an objective criterion. And people will get high-quality engineering education there. So I am for objective indicators that you can touch, and they directly influence the satisfaction and well-being of our citizens. Continuing the topic of objective indicators, together with FCIOM, in October we carried out a study on national projects, and we obtained results to show that sometimes national projects transformed, and there were new versions of national projects incorporating the opinion of people, and practically all of the wishes voiced went into the new versions of national projects that were extended. Vladislav, do you have something similar in your region? Do you measure the expectations of people, and how do you integrate it into your national projects, and do you measure the effect afterwards? Well, naturally, we are studying and examining the needs of people, and we do it together with sociologists. Without them, it is hard to do that, and without these studies it is hard to design the decisions and make the decisions. And we can see the results of these studies, and if we see more concerns of people in this or that sector, we make more efforts there, and then in half a year or 2 years, if we can see the results of these efforts, we understand that we had made the correct decision. And I can give an example of those decisions that we made in 2003, 2004 that have borne fruit now. So the decision was made to find families to all orphans from children's home, and there were around 5,000 children, that is in 2005, and all along this time this program was up and running, and there was certain material incentives, and it costs around 1 billion rubles per year to the budget that goes to the money that we pay to these families that take the orphans to foster families, foster parents, and there is also certain support to them. And as of today, over 90% of kids have found their foster families, and that is a good result of the society well-being, because these kids have a totally different mindset and vision when they become adults, after a children's home or after a family. These are two different things. They socialize differently, and they are a good ground for the life of the region. And for example, yesterday we handed keys to flats to children that are left without their parents. They are totally different children already. They have opted to study for very good professions, and they are really very talented people. And that is possible only thanks to the study of the demand that was in society. And this demand on justice that you have mentioned is a good example. And I have given you this really very particular example, but there are a lot of them. A lot of them are connected with healthcare and these paramedic and obstetrician points. That is also something proceeding from the demand of the people to the government that we can satisfy. Valery, a question to you. There is a country-by-country ranking on happiness index, and Russia is somewhere in the middle, together with Italy and Japan. And if we have a look at this index of happiness ranking, it does not depend on whether the country is sunny or not, whether it is wealthy or not, but it depends on some other criteria. Do you think it is possible to incorporate the index of happiness here in Russia and use it in the regions, or should there be another ranking of governmental activities or anything else? What would be more effective for our social well-being? Well, I believe that sooner or later we will reach the index of happiness, but not actually very soon. First of all, we need a social ranking, because as for economy, we understand it more or less, and for any governor that is really crucial area of activities, everybody understands that they need to make money. It will not come to them just as such. But there is also an important thing, such as social ranking. That is something that is about education, healthcare, social development, and social security. And I believe we need to give it some time to develop and to gain strength, because that should be a system based on which decision-making will take place. And there also have to be best practices out of it. So an ordinary managerial cycle should go, and only at the third step, not earlier, maybe some other steps will be needed. We would be able to talk about a multifaceted, sensitive index of happiness. What we now have in the global market is not very serious development from my perspective, and they do not show much. We naturally need our own research tool, and we should not compare ourselves with China, Finland, the US, with all due respect to these good countries, but we need to understand what happiness is to our people, and we need to trace the dynamics and compare it in different regions of this country. And if I may, I would also add something to the previous topic. So we have discussed justice, care, and attitude, but what you also have there is sense of life. So life should have certain sense. Yes, 53% responded like that. Actually, when people speak about it, it means that basic needs are more or less satisfied, at least the need in safety and food, because we all remember Maslow's pyramid, and when a person starts talking about a sense of life, it means that they are ready to more serious and longer-term actions. But we need to understand that a sense of life can be different. To some, it will be like conquering in a fight, and they are active, energetic, energetic people that want to change something. To others, the sense of life can be serving some value or serving country, serving someone who is younger or junior. And to some, sense of life will be just development. A lot of people are really interested in personal growth and development. Everybody has this agenda to get education and develop. To others, it will be raising social status, because you can work somewhere all your life, but your status should be high and it should grow. Therefore, we need to think really a lot about a sense of life, and it should be in our focus. If people have started thinking and talking about a sense of life, we need more fine-tuned and sensitive tools of governance, because it is easy to rule in a hungry country, but in a well-fed country, you should act differently. You should act with more respect and understanding. If we go back to the indicator, Vladislav, what indicator or tool, governing tool, social indicator for the governor will be?
You know, there is a notion of feedback. When feedback has a positive flavor, there are some tools which assess the social media. They have an integrated indicator what is more positive, what was more negative in terms of the response from the society. Today, this tool is very efficient, and we can clearly see when something happens and the authorities do not have enough time to respond, so negative assessments are very high. And when something is done, when measures are taken, so the response is neutral or positive. All the indicators, quantity indicators in terms of infrastructure development, economic development, compliance with KPI, regional output, per capita, manufacturing output. These are the things for the experts, for the specialists, but for the people, this is their just comprehension, their income, their house, their public transport, which brings them to the job itself, the grocery and the school. This is the infrastructure, this is the whole, this is the world of the person. It was discussed in the kitchen, in the household. Today, it can be shared in social networks. There are very good tools which are very efficient, as I've said already. And it is online. We use it. And it is important for us to not to look at it as a picture, very interesting picture, but we need to use it as a tool and the impetus to reflect on these things, to act on these things. Today I'd like to mention that this is a good conduct of business. A very fast response to changing environment. If people tell you that paths and pavements are not cleared out of snow, you shouldn't explain to them that it is a good thing. You just go and act, demonstrate what kind of activity you do. If people say that meal in school, something wrong with this meal, you need to look into this matter. It might be just a separate case, but you shouldn't step aside from this case. You shouldn't say that it is not true. We have a report which states the details of these things. We need to be more flexible. We need to be more sensitive and to respect those people who live in the regions. And then the justice will be in place, happiness will be in place, even because of their understanding that there is a partnership relation has place. There is not a beacon in front of them. There is a person who you can talk to, who you discuss things with. If something is impossible, you need to explain to the people that it is impossible today. We are all adults, and we do not often believe in miracles. We earn money, we move in towards a goal, we need to achieve to this goal. But in today's open world, with all this range of opportunities, without communication, without reflection, without interaction, it is impossible to move forward. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. We have just 1 minute left in order to summarize our conversation. As it seems to me, we've already started discussing the future of possible happiness rating and adoption it as a very effective tool. This is the first discussion at Gaidar Forum. And it seems to me that we have found one of the words which defines happiness, the state of happiness. For the national projects which are aimed at happiness and welfare of family, maybe for our country, this is the family. Maybe you would like to elaborate on that, on the prospects of happiness assessment in state governance. Do we see any prospects? You know, for me, this is the income, happiness, and health. But family is at the forefront. Everything which makes it stronger, which makes it happy, which makes it stabilized, should dominate in our public governance. I do support you. I wish you happiness. I wish you all happiness. Let's wish everybody happiness. Let's wish families happiness. And we will do our best for the national projects to be implemented for the benefit of our people and for the development of our country and for each region separately. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.